Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Bearded Gamer Show. As always, I'm your host, Chris Arnone. And once again, we're going to start off by talking about Movember, the reason that my illustrious beard is not present right now. This month, growing a mustache to raise money to fight men's cancers. You can join our teams. Just search for VG Charts on Movember.com. I want to talk about a couple big donations. First off, big thanks to Blaine McElroy and Allison Wong for a very generous donation. Puts our team up to $250 raised so far now. Also, recent addition to our team, another member of the VG Charts squad, Ryan Spurgeon, donated about $58. Unfortunately, he donated to Movember and not the team, but you know what? His heart was in the right place, and so is his money. It's going to the right cause. So, good job, Ryan. All right, good news, bad news. All right, so we'll start off with a piece of good news first off, and that is that Nintendo has confirmed they are working on trying to use two of the tablet controllers with the Wii U. It was a big concern we all had when we first saw it at E3, was it only showed off one of those really cool controllers working with up to 4 Wii remotes, but you can only have one of those controllers. And of course, Nintendo, I mean, co-op is sort of their thing. I mean, more of their first-party titles are co-op than just straight-up single-player. So it was a big concern, and they are addressing the problem, and hopefully they're closing in on a solution so we can get two of them. Of course, the big question there is still going to be, how much is that controller going to cost? I mean, it's a pretty fancy piece of technology, and I'm sure it's not going to be cheap. But still, it seems promising, and since we're probably a year or so away from actually seeing the launch of the console, they've got plenty of time to get that sorted out and get us doing co-op with those nifty controllers. All right, another piece of good news. With an IGN interview, Kazunori Yamauchi, the sort of grandmaster behind Polyphony Digital and Gran Turismo, has confirmed they are already in development of Gran Turismo 6. Now, for those who have really followed Gran Turismo, this isn't going to be any kind of surprise. They've really put out 2 titles per PlayStation, and the second one is always sort of the better of the two. It's the more complete version of the game. It's almost like they spend so much time developing these games that even when they do launch it, it's still not the game they really want it to be. Gran Turismo 2 was much deeper than the first Gran Turismo. GT4, much deeper and bigger than GT3, so it's no surprise they're working on GT6, and it'll probably be the more complete, more finalized version of the already great Gran Turismo 5. But they are working on it, and that's good to hear. Of course, you know, it's Polyphony Digital, so probably be a couple more years before we actually see it, but I'm sure it'll be great. All right, some bad news. Now, this deals with Sony and the PlayStation Vita. Now, there's been a big concern for people who have owned their PSPs for a long time, and they have this huge collection of UMD games. What do I do with them when the Vita comes out? It has no UMD drive. Well, for the Japanese version, they've been detailing what they're calling the UMD Passport system. You download an app onto the PSP, and then you put your UMD in and you register it. And then you can go and download that game from PSN. Now, why do I say this is bad news? You have to pay for it, for each one of those games, that is. You already own it, but they're going to make you pay for it again. And this just seems like a bad strategy. I mean, you want to be able to push this new piece of hardware out there. You want to especially sell it to people who have been loyal PSP owners to say, you know what, this is why you need to upgrade, but you can keep playing all your old games. And personally, I don't want to pay for a game that I already own, so I think it's just a bad move on their part. Now, they're going to be different prices. Some of them are listed as far as like $6 for if it's like an older title that's available as a downloadable, but they're also saying some of the newer, hotter ones are more in the like $30 range. So I think it's kind of ridiculous that they're doing that at this. You know, they're like, oh, it's a discount on the downloaded. Yeah, but you already own it. That should be the discount. So not a big fan of that move, but at least they are putting in a way for people to get their UMD games on the Vita. All right, let's finish off good news, bad news with another piece of good news. This is about Assassin's Creed Revelations on the PC. Now, Ubisoft has had this sort of on-again, off-again relationship with DRM, and they're always on DRM. It was a big deal with like Driver San Francisco for the PC, is you had to be online because the DRM was constantly checking, and if you drop your internet connection, it would just kick you out of the game, and that sucks. And of course, they eventually got rid of that. Well, for Revelations, they are not going to have that always on DRM. When you boot up the game, it'll do a quick activation check, and from there, you're good to go offline. So I think maybe Ubisoft is finally learning their lesson about that you really can't do that always on DRM. It really punishes people who maybe have iffy internet connections. It's just not good business practice. So it's good to see they're learning from that, and they're not going to use it. All right, guys, review roundup. Welcome to a massive review roundup powered by Gamer Review. First up this week is Ace Combat Assault Horizon for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Daniel Scherstrom jumped in the cockpit and said, Ace Combat Assault Horizon would have made a better popcorn action movie than a video game. It goes out of its way to focus on cinematic style, to the detriment of the gameplay. It definitely has style, and it was quite rewarding when I finally accomplished a mission that had been kept clipping my wings. That's not enough to make an engaging game. Overall, I did not find Assault Horizon to be a particularly satisfying game experience. Daniel gave Ace Combat Assault Horizon a 5.0 out of 10. Next up is another entry for Sega's Sonic, with Sonic Generations for PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. Brent Gallietti grabbed his party hat to celebrate Sonic's 20th birthday and said, 2 decades in, Sonic the Hedgehog remains an icon of gaming, even though some of his games may have not lived up to the expectations of the fans. Sonic Generations emulates its origins in the best ways possible, by being a solid platformer mixed with the white-hot thrill of controlling the fastest mammal in the world. Sonic fans, it's time to make merry. The blue blur is back, and he's here to stay. Brent gave Sonic Generations an 8.3 out of 10. Did I say this review roundup was massive, right? Well, here's the first of 3 really big games to get reviewed this week. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 for Xbox 360, PC, and PlayStation 3. Xavier Griffiths grabbed his gun for this year's entry and said, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is a great game hurt by its unwillingness to stray from a tried and true formula. Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer Games have crafted a game that delivers thrills that will satisfy a mass audience, but has not given its biggest critics any reason to relent. Depending on who you are as a gamer, you will either dive right in and enjoy the latest Call of Duty because of its refinements, or lament that a game with modern in the title can feel so stuck in the past. Xavier gave Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 an 8.6 out of 10. Drake is back in the next review, Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception for the PlayStation 3. Carl Kebke did his best Nolan North impression and said, Uncharted 3 had some huge shoes to fill after the amazing reception that the second title received, and for the most part it fills them splendidly. Beautiful skylines and flowing desert sand, a reworked multiplayer, particularly co-op, and some crazy set-piece moments makes this one of the best games of the year. But I don't think it's going to sweep the awards board like it did in 2009. Sometimes, heightened expectations can make even a fantastic game like Uncharted 3 feel like a tiny bit of a disappointment. Carl gave Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception a 9.0 out of 10. Finally, Nick Pantazis jumped headfirst into the latest Elder Scrolls game, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. He said, Skyrim is a transcendent experience. It may not be perfect, but it excels in almost every aspect of design. There are games that you play, and there are games that you experience, and this is the latter. It sucks you in, and you will get lost in its depths. So go buy Skyrim, then call your friends and your boss, and warn them that they won't hear from you for a while. Nick gave The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim an unprecedented 9.7 out of 10. Be sure to read the full reviews for these and many other games on gamerreview.vgcharts.com. Skyrim. As you see, I am wearing my Bethesda t-shirt today. I do film on Fridays, so this is Skyrim Day for me, even though you're seeing this on Saturday. And if I maybe look a little bit bedraggled, the shadow in addition to the goofy mustache, it's because, I did go to midnight release and go to my local Best Buy to pick up Skyrim. However, I do need to get something off my chest, and this isn't specific to Skyrim. It's more about Steamworks and a frustration that I had. As I went to Best Buy, I had a bunch of Reward Zone gift certificates, so I pretty much got Skyrim for free. Grabbed it for PC, brought it home, only so that the game could tell me it needed to download for 3 hours. Why give me a disc? How is there 5 gigabytes worth of information on this disc? I bought this giant coffee on the way home with a full plan to just romp through Skyrim all night long, and instead I got home, started the install, and then went and took a nap. Still, got several hours of Skyrim gameplay in, and despite that Steamworks issue, it is fantastic. I mean, the 9.7 is the highest score ever given on Gamer Review, even dating back into the days when all the reviews were on VG charts. It is the absolute highest score. And there's even higher praise. Nick Pantazzi's a friend of mine, we were talking about the game before he wrote up the review, and he told me he'd spent more than 80 hours between 2 characters, and all he wanted to do was fire the game up and keep playing it. And this is from a guy who tells me that I'm too nice. I like games too much when I do reviews. He's much more cynical. So what higher praise can you ask for in a game than somebody puts in 80 hours and all they can think about is getting back into it and playing some more? It is that phenomenal. So far, it is absolutely my game of the year. Of course, there's still some great games coming on the horizon this month, so we'll see what happens, but it's phenomenal. Okay. Let's head into the end with the burning question. So last week, I asked people what was the one game in all of this November that they really, really want to get their hands on. Had a bunch of great responses. In fact, so many I'm going to read off, I'm not even going to do titles and throw them up on screen. We're just going to run through them real quick. Elgefe02 said Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Binary Solo said Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception. Trunks WD, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Gumby Trucker, that's an awesome username by the way, I love it. Another Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. And then finally, Signal Star said Rayman Origins. Now, surprising, there's several that are missing off that list. Modern Warfare, the new Assassin's Creed, just so many games. But still, a nice variety that we've got going right there. All right, so for this week's burning question, it seems that my opinion on Call of Duty being better than Battlefield, a bit unpopular. So what I'm curious to know is, what could Call of Duty do to truly win the core gamers, not just the community of Call of Duty fans? Because Call of Duty is community. People don't just go buy it. They go buy it because all the people they play with all the time are all going to go buy it. It's huge. It's like World of Warcraft in that way, that it's really about the people that play it even more than the game itself. So, for the core gamer, for someone who is honestly deciding between Battlefield 3, Call of Duty 3, or Modern Warfare 3, or the next incarnations of those, what does Call of Duty need to do to truly innovate, to truly put itself back on the map with core gamers and the majority of gaming journalists? That's my question to you. All right, as always, I will I will display the best answers to this question next week. Until then.